I'm pretty good. Tempo Junior on the Game Gear. You want to give me a countdown? I guess we can go.
Okay, yeah. All right, so I'll go from 5, and okay, I'll start with 5 and I'll end on go.
Okay.
After 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, this is Tempo Junior for the Game Gear. I'm squilibob. And we're in the world of the Mushi. They love the game shows. And this is the biggest game show in the world. It's the Major Minor show. Major Minor is a grasshopper. He's in disguise. He's very shady looking. He's not the villain though. I'm not sure why he is in disguise for. He might be Tempo's father. I have no idea. We never hear about him again. And Tempo is a grasshopper as well. He's got a few tricks up his sleeve. In his attacks, he's got a little click where a note comes out of his fingers and it stuns enemies. He can also roll into enemies to kill them. He can just bop on their heads like any platformer from the mid-90s mascot can do. And he can also do a roundhouse kick on enemies. So I'm going to be using a few of the different attacks, but my goal is to try and stop Tempo from floating around. He's very floaty. So you want to be doing this roll and dash attack as much as possible because that's his fastest mode of transportation. So you'll see me either do an attack or quickly fly out of a bounce when I run into any of these enemies. And there's 3 games in the Tempo series. There's this game, and it was made concurrently with the 32X version. Both came out in 1995, and a Saturn version came out in 1997 called Super Tempo. The goal of each stage is to get these yellow keynotes that you see, and then just find the exit. The exit unlocks once you get one of the yellow keynotes. And then there's 2 performances in each of the worlds, and then a boss fight. And with the boss fights, you can sort of just stand there and mash them and trade damage with them, like this. It is a bit of a gamble to do that because they have different iframes to Tempo. So sometimes he might hit me twice in a row while we're doing that. And sometimes I might hit him 2 or 3 times in a row. So I do try and dodge them. This is the worst of the bosses. He's a very, very big sprite. The Game Gear sprites are 16 by 16, so they sort of mesh them all together. And his stick is very big. I need to try and walk out of the way to save time. That was not a good fight. So yeah, you can mash on all the bosses, but I do try to save time by not getting hit. There's quite a few power-ups in this game, but they're not really important to the speedrun. I've sort of dumbed it down. I don't want to be too patronizing, but I'm not big on musical notation myself. There is a hashtag sort of thing. It's called a sharp notation, and that causes Tempo's flick attacks to go diagonally up into the ceiling. There's also flat, which looks like a lowercase b. That makes the notes go downwards, and then there's also a zigzag power up, and that does a combination of the two. It makes it go both up and down. The main power up we see, there's little extra lives and stuff like that as well, but the main power up you'll see me get is the CD. It gives Tempo back 4 health. CDs were a big thing in the mid-90s, and Tempo never goes anywhere without his headphones and his CD Walkman. There's a CD there, which is out of the way, so I'm not going to get that. Again, we get the keynotes, and we get to the end of the level as fast as possible. There's quite a few little efficiency gains in this game. Just with movement, It is a very laggy sort of game. The Game Gear is not the greatest processor in the world. Double tapping doesn't always result in me dashing off. It does like to eat inputs, especially in boss battles. And there's a lot of RNG. You see those bees there? They move around a lot. Different every time you play. So there's a few differences between the English manual and the Japanese manual. I think the person who did the English manual had no idea what the Japanese manual was saying. Tempo's got a girlfriend. Her name is Katie. She's a butterfly. And in the English manual, it says that she's captured and we've got to rescue her. But she shows up after every boss fight. And I don't actually think that she's getting kidnapped every single time. The Japanese manual is basically all about Tempo trying to be this up-and-coming game show star. And it talks about how the mushies like game shows and that sort of thing. And I think Katie just sort of shows up because she's invited onto the stage after every victory. So a little inconsistent there. It's a very easy game. As you see there, the water damage doesn't kill Tempo. He doesn't fall into the water and die. Very forgiving. This is part of the Sega Club series of Game Gear games. They're for kids, makes it very, very easy. Here we've got the frog boss. Now the frog, if I get stuck in his mouth there, he'll eat me up and waste a whole heap of time. What I want him to do is shoot these little frogs so that I can constantly be clicking and shooting him. It's very RNG boss. That's what I want him to do, shoot those little frogs. Nope, don't want him to come and attack me like that. I've been running this game for a little while now. I saw this game on Big Bad Gameathon by Shentok last year. Yes, our Shentok. Then in January, I decided to get the game and I started playing it. And yeah, I thought this is a pretty fun game. I thought I'd speedrun it. And I was like at work every day thinking about the game, thinking how I could improve it. Like this little area here, this hasn't been picked up by any of the three runners. Big time save there. There's these dubbed flowers here. They act as the waypoint in each stage, and they also slow tempo down. So I just shoot them when I come across them. It does slow the game down a fair bit. There's a lot of lag. It changes the colors. Probably talk about the Game Gear hardware. The Master System and the Game Gear are fairly similar, but the Game Gear's got a bit of an updated processor. So for the colors, they choose 32 colors out of their palette, and the Master System has a 6-bit color register, I think you call them. So that means it can choose from 64 different colors, but the Game Gear has a 12-bit color RAM. So it doesn't have double, that's actually 4096 different colors. However, the Game Gear is for a small form factor and it's got a smaller resolution. Look, it's a jump here. There's some stages where it's just simpler to take the slow but consistent floating over everything rather than stopping every few frames or every screen to hit an enemy and then start up again. You see that in the next couple of stages. So yeah, the difference is I have seen a Master System conversion of this game, but it's not the same. The colors washed out, especially in the next stage, where there's a lot of color happening, and enemies sort of just phase into existence in that game because of the resolution. Again, this dubbed flower is in the way, so to shoot it, so I can actually fly over here with any sort of speed. And the keynote's just in the way in this stage. Just get this mushy out of the way. And we're up to the next boss that's flying through the stage, and flying through the game. So yeah, when you beat a boss, we get on the stage with Katie and do the tempo dance. In the 32X 32X game, Tempo has a dance by himself and a dance with Katie in this game. You always have Katie with you. I'm not sure why they called her Katie for. I tried to look up the Japanese name of Kate, and there's no musical reference to that name at all. So I'm not sure why they didn't call her Harmony or Melody or something like that. I'm guessing the director of this game, whose name is Bill Person, might have a daughter or a niece called Katie, and they just decided that's her name. This game is made by Red. You might know them from the Sakura Tyson games. They've also done quite a few anime games, like the Uni games. They're very famous for that. They also did the infamous Fossil Fighters game. Oh, I've got to take some damage boosts in this stage, so I'll just jump up here through these spikes. So I'm only on 1 health here, so I'll get the CD. Again, this dubbed flower's in the way. Red is still around these days, but they were bought out quite recently by a Chinese company. They do not do the Sakura Wars games anymore. Sega just does them now. A game came out last year in December. There's 2 ways to go here. You can go the top way, which is safer, but I'm going to go the bottom route. Oh, and it cost me. So yeah, they're very musically inclined. This is a big disco stage. I don't know why it's eating my inputs for. The 32X game is particularly interesting with how it handles music. It sort of just plays a beat and like a backbeat and the bass during the stage until you find Katie, and then it fills out the rest of the music. It's very interesting the way that it handles music. I believe I'm on to the next boss. No, this is the next stage. And Super Tempo's got some really nice ways to handle the music as well. There's one of the stages in Super Tempo where it's a graveyards and it's got this ambient sort of spooky music, and then you go around and you collect these 4 different ghosts, and each of the ghosts in that stage add one of the instruments to the music. So they did very well with keeping up with the music theme throughout the whole series. This is on the Game Gear and it's got quite nice stereo. I've actually only just realized quite recently that this game was in stereo. I was streaming it in mono this entire time. So it's in stereo for you today. And you see all these little medallions in the background. They sort of look like the bonus or the bonus level in this game. I don't want to pick that up because it wastes a heap of time if I get that. But all the bonus games are also musically inclined. So in this game, you've got a sort of a Simon Says, or I guess you call it Mastermind or Memory even, where you just have to remember what order the notes are played in. There's some really nice bonus games throughout the Tempo series, especially in the 32X. Okay, so this is the actual end of all the platforming. We just do a bit of we do this boss and then we do a boss rush, and then this final boss and the game is over. It's a very short game. Very easy game, part of Sega Club. It's probably casually, it only take 25 to 30 minutes to finish this game, which is good because that's about the battery length of the Sega Game Gear. Just speaking about that bonus games, they're really cute bonus games in the 32X version. There's one where you've got to do things to the music like surfing, and then there's like a Bruce Lee stage where you hit rocks and giant trees that come down a mountain. There's a third one where a mushy mother was watching television and you've got to steal her pizza when she's not watching. Very cute. So the boss rush, there's 2 of the 4 bosses. I'll either get the snowman or the frog here. I got the snowman. I like the snowman. He's a bit fast. Pretty easy to avoid damage for this one. It'd be embarrassing if I get hit. So very easy pattern. This is the only boss in the game where ducking comes in handy. Ducking is pretty handy in Tempo on the 32X because you can kick while you're ducking. Very handy in boss fights. But yeah, that's the only time I really need to duck throughout the whole game. So that's the better of the 2, of the frog and the penguin. I also would really like to get the bee again. As you saw, that bee fight was very quick, whereas the clown is quite infuriating with how he moves, or doesn't move sometimes. And we got the clown. Okay, that's right. Maybe I can redeem myself from the first time. Okay, dodging. Now sometimes he'll follow me across the map, and sometimes he'll just stay here and I can hit him over and over again. This is how this fight is supposed to look. So I'm actually kind of glad that I got to do this again. And after that, we've got the final boss in the game. Again, like the manuals are really inconsistent on what he is and what his name is. The English name says his name is Dirge, but the Japanese says it's Zenza. I don't know how they came up with such differences. And this will be time after I beat this boss. He's kind of a giant purple ant or something like that. And he does sort of all these different dance moves. If the bosses beat you in this game, they dance on your dead body. They've all got all these different dancing sprites. There's a lot of sprite memory in this game. Tempo games are known for their sprites. He sort of just stands there and does the monkey at you. I don't think the AI is set up for him getting somersaulted in the butt over and over again. So it thinks I'm on the left-hand side and he keeps trying to do the monkey onto my head. But this is the consistent way to beat this boss. As long as I don't mess it up, just sit here and... Nope, I go back and do that again. Okay. I knew I'd mess it up as soon as I said that. Okay, and this is going to be time. I have no idea what my time is. I can't really see the screen. Anything like 14 would be very good.
Hi, sorry, it's 14:47.
Okay, that was not a good one.
It looked
My
good.
record that I set earlier in the week was 13:47, so it wasn't the fastest of runs. I am glad that I got to show it off. This is my first ever marathon, so I was very, very nervous. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. It's pretty interesting, and we love playing like having Game Gear games and stuff on the marathon too.
Yeah,
Very
we've only
nice
got
to
one
see.
more Game Gear coming up, and that's in a couple of runs' time, the Garfield, and that's it for Game Gear.
Yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, thanks very much, squilibob.
Thanks, guys.
Coming up next, we got Faust 4712 with Cool Spot for Sega Genesis. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.